Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Brett Daniels. You are a worker at Amazon in Staten Island, the mega warehouse that workers have been organizing to form a union since April. That campaign is ongoing, which we can get to in a little bit. You basically started as a seasonal worker at Amazon. Then they got rid of you, like they get rid of a lot of seasonal workers. Then they hired you back. So you've kind of been hired, fired, hired again a couple times since you started last year. And early on, you joined the workers who are trying to form a union. That's correct.
Yep.
So could we kind of talk about on November 15th, you and Chris were there, you're handing out books, this and that. That period, November 15th, the audience should know, it just so happened to be basically the same exact week Amazon started holding mandatory daily union busting sessions, which Status Coup obtained audio from one of them. So that same week, they were calling in you workers to mandatory sessions, described as, training sessions, but really the purpose of those sessions were to tell you not to join the union and to try and scare workers away from the union, correct?
Yep. They were quote unquote mandatory peak training. And like they say that this is what we need in order to be prepared for peak training is specifically anti-ALU. It's all anti-ALU, and I actually had quite trouble getting into one of those meetings. And it wasn't until they stopped for like just a little over a week at JFK 8, but they continued in all of the other buildings. They brought them back this past week, and actually on Thursday I got my way in, even though they didn't initially like send me any message about it. I had to ask about it and let them know, hey, I haven't taken this, and I need to have the training that's mandatory for this peak.
Mm-hmm. So I bring that up that it's that week that the mandatory daily sessions are starting. It just so happened they started these mandatory daily sessions when the workers trying to form the union dropped off your signatures at the National Labor Relations Board. So tell me, that week they start the mandatory daily sessions, and then the police approach you. The NYPD police officers, by my count, it looked like 4 or 5 in the video. They approach you. Let's show some of what happened.
We are complying. We are complying with y'all, so you're not issuing us a summons. You're not issuing us a summons because we are complying with y'all. We've been out here.
I'm asking you nice and polite.
Before you put me in handcuffs?
Yes, as of right now, you're being stopped. Can I see your ID, sir?
No, Chris. They're trying to put me in handcuffs.
I need your ID.
They're trying to issue us a summons even though we are complying.
We're trying to avoid that.
We are trying to avoid that.
So show it. So all you have to do is take it out. If you give us your ID. Because I asked him for his ID. Boss, let me get your ID.
No, we are complying with y'all.
Okay, once again,
we're already complying.
You failed to give me your ID twice. He just said he failed twice. Sir, give me your ID.
He's not responsible for anything. Right. He's not responsible. You already knew you came over here and addressed me. You don't need to address him. Sir, you don't need to address him.
Give me your ID.
No.
Are you failing to give me your ID for the third time?
You don't need to address him.
No.
Put him in cuffs.
Hey, yo, what are y'all doing?
Look, they're arresting me for complying. What's this? What's the issue for arresting me? Why are you arresting me?
See how you're resisting
Why are you arresting
See
me?
how you're resisting now.
Because we're complying? Y'all are getting massive charges for this. Y'all are getting massive charges.
See how you actually tighten
Look, they're hurting my wrist. They're hurting my wrist.
We see in the video that they're approaching you, they're asking for your ID, and then they arrest you. What happened before that video? What did they say to you when they approached?
Yeah, so they were focused on the tent and the open flame. They said we couldn't have either on public property. They said you could take it on Amazon property, and Chris, told them, well, we can't be there either. Y'all know that. But yeah, so eventually you know, they were very adamant about it. So we started to take the tent down, and then, you know, Chris was just saying, oh, like, we'll just let the flame out, like let it go out on its own, because it was, you know, the last log on its way to go. So that's where we were at, and we were packing up and everything. And so we were complying with what they asked, even though we were well within our right to be there. So, you know, Chris was like, if you're going to give me, you know, give us a summons, give us a summons. But, you know, Chris said that he'll put the, you know, put the fire out. And, you know, I brought up the point that they failed to give us a summons before, for the tent or the fire. So they're actually breaking the law by not doing anything before, you know, and then all of a sudden now it's a problem.
But again, you've had the blue tent out there for 8 months, and there's been NYPD officers out there for different reasons for 8 months. So it seems kind of odd that the same week that Amazon begins holding daily mandatory union busting sessions, all of a sudden a flood of NYPD officers start rolling in, basically telling you can't have a tent there. Did you see any kind of cause and effect with that?
I mean, I think that speaks for itself. But yeah, there's definitely a huge correlation there. Yeah.
So basically, again, no problem with a tent for 8 months. Problem with a tent. Same week, Amazon ratchets up and dials up the pressure on the union busting. Okay, so you told them you're within your right to have the flame, to have the tent, but regardless, you were cooperating. And then they start asking for your ID. What happens next?
Yeah, so first, you know, they asked for Chris's ID, and he's like, you identified me by full name. Like that was one of the first things that they said. Like, and Officer Rosado said that he had been to one of his protests before, been to one of our protests before. So, you know, he didn't need to show his ID. You know, and then when they were asking me, I was like, what for? And, you know, it was right around that time is when I started recording. We definitely did not feel safe. I mean, you never feel safe around the pigs, but especially in this situation, I was like, okay, it's time to start recording. And yeah, I'm very glad I did, because, I mean, you can see I didn't even, you know, I asked and they didn't even say why they were asking for the ID, why they were going to arrest me, you know, and then, you know, to literally say that they were going to put me in handcuffs, and then for me to ask that and then never say, and then use extreme physical force. That's, you know, quite ridiculous. I mean, you could see, like, I mean, my wrist hurt that entire day, and it could have been way worse. You know, Black, brown, and Indigenous violence. That's what, I mean, fighting for liberation for all is what this is all about. Like the every single Amazon building, it, you know, it's like they exploit the land, the, you know, Black, brown, and Indigenous land that they're on, and then the people. They make the majority, but yet aren't the managers. The managers look more like me. Mm-hmm. So it's quite ridiculous, because it's racist and sexist and classist, and it's got to change.
Right. So let me ask you, because both you and Christian had told me for the story I broke about this, that police officers showed you a text message, basically from who we can't confirm, but a text message that there was basically a complaint made to the police, and that's why they came over to you. What did the text message say, and who do you suspect made the complaint against you guys?
Yeah, so it said that there were 4 to 5 protesters, and it said that Chris Smalls was there. And so that's initially the first thing that they asked. They said, "Are y'all protesting?" Said we got a call for that, and showed us that. And so, you know, we're like, we're not protesting anything. Was like, you're in a union, right? That's what we're fighting for.